Hi, welcome back to SQL Database Administration Hub. Today, we're going deeper into SQL Server Agent. We used it to automate backups in the last video, but SQL Server Agent is capable of much more than that. Let's explore everything it can do for you as a DBA. SQL Server Agent is the backbone of automation in SQL Server. It's a Windows service that runs alongside SQL Server and executes scheduled tasks, responds to events, and notifies the right people when something needs attention. In this video, we'll cover three key areas: jobs in depth, operators, and proxies. Understanding all three gives you complete control over SQL Server Agent and allows you to build a sophisticated automation framework that keeps your SQL Server environment running smoothly. We've already created basic jobs, but there's a lot more to SQL Server Agent jobs than a single T-SQL step. A job can have multiple steps, and each step can be a different type: T-SQL, PowerShell, command line executable, SS package, or analysis services commands. You can chain together a T-SQL backup step, a PowerShell file cleanup step that deletes old backups, and a command line step that copies files to a network share, all in a single job with one schedule. Each step has flow control. You define what happens on success and what happens on failure. Should SQL Server Agent move to the next step, jump to a specific step, or quit the job? This allows you to build conditional logic into your jobs. Job categories help you organize your jobs. You can create custom categories like backup jobs, maintenance jobs, or monitoring jobs, making it much easier to find specific jobs as your library grows. Job history is stored in MSDB and shows you every execution, whether it succeeded, failed, how long it took, and any error messages. Job history is stored in MSDB and shows you every execution, whether it succeeded. We've already created basic jobs, but there's a lot more to SQL Server Agent jobs than a single T-SQL step. To view job history, right-click a job and select View History. Make it a habit to review job history regularly as part of your daily DBA monitoring routine. This is a critical practice, not optional. One important note: always make sure SQL Server Agent is set to start automatically with Windows. If the server reboots and Agent doesn't start, none of your scheduled jobs will run. An operator in SQL Server Agent is a named contact, a person or a team that can receive notifications when job events occur or when alerts fire. You can configure operators to receive notifications in three ways: email, pager, and NetSend. In modern environments, email via database mail is by far the most commonly used method. To create an operator, expand SQL Server Agent, right-click Operators, and select New Operator. Give it a meaningful name, either the DBA's name or a team name like DBA Team, and enter the email address. For team notifications, use a distribution list email so the alert reaches everyone on the team. Practical best practice. You can also configure an on-duty schedule for operators, specifying which days and hours each operator is active. This is useful when you have multiple DBAs covering different shifts and want alerts routed to whoever is currently on call. One very useful feature is the fail-safe operator. This is a backup notification recipient that receives alerts if the primary operator can't be notified. For example, if database mail itself has a problem. To configure the fail-safe operator, go to SQL Server Agent Properties. Click the Alert System tab and set your fail-safe operator there. Always test your operator notifications after setting them up. Send a test email through database mail and verify it arrives at the operator's inbox before relying on it in production. Proxies are one of the most overlooked but important features of SQL Server Agent, and they solve a very specific security problem. By default, SQL Server Agent jobs run under the SQL Server Agent service account. This works fine for T-SQL steps because they run within SQL Server's security context. But what about job steps that run outside SQL Server, like PowerShell scripts, command line executables, or SSIS packages? These steps need Windows-level permissions to access files, network shares, or other systems. Rather than giving the SQL Server Agent service account broad Windows permissions, which would be a security risk, you create a proxy that runs specific job steps under a different Windows credential with only the permissions needed for that task. Here's how proxies work. First, create a credential in SQL Server that stores a Windows username and password. This is done under Security Credentials in SSMS. Security Credentials. Second, create a proxy under SQL Server Agent. Proxies that maps to that credential. Continuing the sequence. Second, create a proxy under SQL Server Agent Proxies that maps to that credential. Third, when creating a job step that needs elevated permissions, select the proxy in the Run As dropdown. For example, if your backup job needs to copy files to a network share, you'd create a credential with a Windows account that has access share and assign that proxy to the file copy step. The TSQL steps still run under the agent service account, while only the file copy step uses the proxy. Proxies follow the principle of least privilege. Each task gets exactly the permissions it needs and nothing more. And that's your SQL Server Agent deep dive. To recap, jobs can have multiple steps of different types with conditional flow control, and monitoring job history should be part of your daily routine. Operators. Are your notification contacts configured with email addresses and on-duty schedules with a fail-safe operator as a backup? And proxies allow specific job steps to run under different Windows credentials, keeping your automation secure by following the principle of least privilege. SQL Server Agent is one of the most powerful tools in a DBA's toolkit. The more you automate with it, the more time you free up for higher value work. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video, and I'll see you there.
Generous Academy.